Alright guys, so we are continuing on with this painting right here, and as you can see here that we have all these different details and different colors that are actually coming together very well, and we are now moving on to the painting of the stairs. Right, so we have these stairs and we have all these different browns that are used to paint the stairs right here. Right, so we have this the use of these browns, and we can use all these different kinds of browns like light browns, orange browns, yellowish browns, dark browns in order to paint the stairs that we are seeing right now. And so using the small brush, we are using some dry brush techniques, and these dry brush techniques are actually very good to use. As I've mentioned earlier in the earlier videos, I'm actually using these dry brush techniques to help me with painting the walls, the dry textures and the rough kind of textures and so on and so forth. And so right here we have all these different kinds of browns and so on and so forth, and these browns are depicting the stairs, and of course we have all these different kinds of browns and black tones, dark tones and dark brown tones and so on and so forth. So they are very well designed together because they relate to each other, and also there's a variation of all these hues and all these kinds of colors, as well as tones, as well as sizes, as well as in terms of brush strokes, the dry techniques mixed with the wet techniques. And so this kind of painting style is actually very interesting to look at. So I'm repeating the same process for the rest of the stairs. As you can see that I'm actually trying to have all these dark areas and then we have these light areas, alternating between the dark and the light areas. That is something that is very interesting to look at as well. Right, so we have this bag that this man is holding, and it also consists of all these very warm colors, and I'm actually using the small little brush to help me with painting the lines that make up the stairs. So again, using all these different kinds of browns, we are trying to make sure that we have all these textures that are being done for the stairs. So I'm using this purple for the top of the stairs, and this purple is combined with the brown. So I use orange, green and purple to enhance the colors of the things that we see. And so we have a lot of purples right here, and that is actually making up most of the top of the stairs. And of course using green to kind of like do the moss, which you will see more of that later on in between those stairs, and of course orange to enhance the browns that is actually making up most of the colors of these stairs. So you can see right here that the stairs are actually very rich in terms of colors. We have like light browns, we have yellowish browns, we have dark browns, we have dark purples, and so these stairs are very rich in terms of all these different colors. And just using the small brush to help me with painting the rest of the things right here. So we have that brown, and then in the middle part we have that light purple, and then after that I added more brownish tones. And so these different tones, these different kinds of colors are actually alternating, and they are actually relating to each other because it shows all these differences and all these differences in hues in terms of brush strokes. And so these differences actually create rhythm within the stairs. So a very important thing is when you are painting all these objects, whatever object that you're painting, try to change the kind of style and try to change the colors and try to change everything that you can be capable of doing, because that will create more variations and more rhythms and more of this kind of interesting effects within that same object. And so that is something which interests the viewer, and that is what makes the painting really great. Right, so we have all these different lines, and again I'm actually using some of the light brown there to paint some of the stairs at the top. And as you can see that as we reach to the top, the colors are lighter, and so we would need to make sure that we have all these different colors in, and also to make sure that the top of the stairs actually occupy a smaller space as compared to the side of the stairs, because the side of the stairs is directly facing the viewer, whereas the top of the stairs is actually, because of perspective, it is actually appears to be smaller than the side of the steps. So we are now using all these dark brown and black strokes in order to paint all these different colors, and of course using some purple strokes again. So combining purple with that brown is also giving us a very nice visual effect. And we have all these different lines and all these different kinds of tones that that make up this particular piece. And we have all these different kinds of colors, again using browns, again using purples and yellows and light browns and so on and so forth. And so as we move up, again the stairs are getting smaller because they are getting further and further away. And of course, using that small brush, I am painting some of those light brown tones. Right, so most of the stairs are now done. We are just trying to touch up towards the left hand side. And so you can actually see how I use this dry brush technique. Using that small brush, we are able to do a lot of all these different kinds of painting techniques, painting styles, and all these different kinds of styles actually help us to make sure that we have all these different colors and different dark and light, different strokes that are being added into the object itself, and that will give us a lot of interesting effects. Right, so between those legs we see that this person right there, we have this brown, and on the right hand side of that section we have the darker brown, and on the left within that same object we have this lighter brown. So that is how I actually use all these different kinds of techniques in order to make sure that we have all these interesting effects. And all these interesting effects actually make the painting much more attractive, rather than if I follow the original photo, I just paint the whole thing brown, the same color, same tone, and that wouldn't be as interesting as what I am doing right now. So these are some very important techniques in terms of watercolor. If you're painting in watercolor, if you're painting in oils as well, so using all these different techniques. Of course, in oil there's like scumbling, doing a layer on top of each layer, and you can still see the bottom layer. So these are some kind of techniques that you can use to create all these edges, all these changes. And so these are one of the most commonly used techniques that watercolorists actually use to depict textures, and that is by using dry brush, by combining different colors together, and by making alternations between all these different parts. Right, so again, just trying to use that small brush to help us to complete this painting right there. Right, so now we are moving on to the bottom part right there. And so you can see I'm actually using that small brush to paint the bottom part of the stairs that is near to the ground. And so I'm using this kind of dry brush thing to flick the brush from the bottom to the top. So this flickering kind of action actually creates this kind of like dry kind of dirt that is in between those cracks of the ground, and that will give us all these very interesting textures and very interesting kinds of dryness. And this dry brush are now being connected with the browns and the light browns, and all these different kinds of brown tones are being connected now with the dry brush. And so we have all these different areas are being connected together by that wet brush. So we can connect the dry brush areas with the rest of the areas by using more water and by using this light brown, and that will help us to connect all these different areas together, again using that purple. So that light purple is now being connected with that light brown, and again there's no need for transition colors because they are both in the same color zone and they are both grayish, they're both light, and so they are subtly different, but we can see the differences in hue when we actually look closely at it. And so all these differences are now being connected together by that brush. That is how I painted all these things. Right, so again, as I mentioned, using purple to paint the surface of each step, and this dioxazine purple can be combined with burnt sienna or the dark brown, which is burnt umber, and then we can have this dark kind of purple tone that we are using to paint the top of each stair. Okay, so the reason why I use purple is because I wanted to separate the top of the stairs with the side of the stairs, and so we can see the contrast, and so the viewer wouldn't be confused as to which one is the top, which one is the side. And so by using this kind of very subtle color changes, that will actually help them to see visually that we have the top as being depicted by those purple tones rather than the brown tones. Right, so by subtly changing colors, that is how you can play with the viewer's eyes, the viewer's vision, and this kind of subtle changes are what makes a painting more rich as well. Right, so using the brush, I kind of like are able to do the rest of those details. So again, using the semicircles, I'm able to paint the patterns on the top part of the stairs, and so using a small brush I kind of like can do all these strokes, all these dark strokes that are able to create all these different kinds of semicircles that will give us a lot of all these different shapes that we see. Right, so we have all these different kinds of small little semicircles, and these patterns again make the entire scene look much more captivating because of all these details that I actually bother to do, and that will capture the viewer's eyes as well. So once it's dry, I will be able to paint the colors for the semicircles. So right now I'm actually using my brush to make sure that we have all these purple tones and make sure that the rest of the steps are now being filled in, and that will help us to have all these colors being added. So using the dark tone, we are now adding in some of that dark blue and dark red for the dark blues for this trousers or this pants for this man right here, this young man, and leaving white for some of the paints to be added on later, the lighter blue paints, so that we can see that there's some changes within the trousers or the pants of this man. And so we have all these different kinds of things that we're doing right now that will enhance the painting, because we have all these changes, again using like purples and blues within the same zone, and of course dark blues, and then we have the use of purples for the top of the stairs, and using the browns, orange, yellows, and light browns, and of course using black lines to paint the cracks of the stairs. Right, so all these things, and again this man right here is now being depicted by painting the darker parts of his shirt and leaving white the lighter parts, which will be filled in later. So these are some very amazing techniques that we can use.
Hey everyone, it's KY Tom here.
thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed my video, please hit the like button and comment down below. Do consider to subscribe to my channel for more art videos. Check out the links on the description below to find out more about my art, and I hope to see you in the next one.